Hey, we can't copyright that for the podcast.
That's right. We don't have the money for that song.
You're going to have to sing a sound alike. Just make it up. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Three's not a very lonely number. 3. See? That works. Oh,
one could say that 3 is company.
3 is company. 3 is company too.
3 is company. It's just not the same as the contraction, you know?
Yes, it's true. Chad Peters tiptoeing around.
I need my
You got Shira. Are we moving? Are we running? Are we rolling?
We're rolling here.
Well, let's start off with a cheers, I suppose, first, right?
Cheers, gentlemen.
Salute.
Woo! Kampai.
Gentai.
A hui hui.
That's good. Thank you.
So welcome, Steve Phelan.
Well, thanks for
welcome
having
back to the podcast.
Another 3-way.
Thanks for having me
I'm the hell
back.
with this.
I heard some of the things you were saying on your other podcast, and I got to tell you, I was very put out.
You're here to give us a piece of your mind.
Yeah, and another thing. No, I'm good.
Actually, every time I listen to Down in Front or Friends in Your Head, I'd always they'd be just trashing a movie that I loved, and I'd be like, "No, you fucks, that's not how it went down.
You fucking bunch of cocksuckers."
I'm trying to remember. There was one movie that you guys had seen, and I was listening to you talk about it, and I was like, "No, but don't you?" Oh, that's what it was. It was La La Land.
Oh.
And how you were how you felt about the final musical number. I'm like, you realize that was an homage to An American in Paris, right?
I do now, but I don't care because I have never seen An American in Paris, and I shouldn't have to come with that pre-knowledge to enjoy.
Yeah, and I
this
didn't.
movie.
I've never seen it either, and
Oh, really?
to me it doesn't matter. But
Let me just say, highly recommend
I
it.
don't think that you need to.
No, you don't
but-
need that to appreciate, I think, that film in particular.
It's on my list, but it's way far down the list.
Yeah.
Like, I know people have called it a classic for a long time.
You know what?
so-
If American in Paris was La La Land, it would be called fucking La La Land.
This is true. Very true.
What are you guys up to?
Oh, about 5'10", 10 and a half, depending on the shoe.
Cool.
About 191 myself.
Yeah.
Are we talking butt
Pounds.
circumference?
Yeah.
Girth.
Girth. Okay, good. What
That's
movie?
my-
What movie did you
that's
bring
my
for us
ass
today,
radius.
Steve?
I brought you Rumblefish.
Francis Ford Coppola.
Rumble.
Yes. I believe it was made around the same time that he was doing The Outsiders. And was S.E. Hinton basically involved with both projects?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
have
actually
no-
seen Rumblefish, so this will be my first time.
I've never seen The Outsiders, so I have no idea.
Okay.
But I think he did kind of make this right after The
Yeah, they were
Outsiders.
literally within a year of each other, I
He
think.
chose his favorite people and brought them on to Rumblefish.
Yep. And that was one of the things that caught my eye particularly was when I saw that, I think it's Stephen H. Byrum who lensed this movie. And I was like, oh my God, he did Carlito's Way, which is one of my favorite movies. Actually, probably my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, let's be honest, Steve.
Yeah, it is. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
The Godfather or Carlito's Way.
We
Carlito's Way.
even brought you up on our De Palma commentary.
I know. I heard it because then I saw it was so funny because for many years, you're right, I was such a fan of De Palma, and every time a new De Palma movie would come, I'd be like, "Come on, De Palma, make a good movie." And then someone
Pull it
brought
together,
up to
man.
Me. It might have been you who brought it up to me. The fact that it's almost like he's this eternal film school director, in the sense that there are literal moments of absolute genius in almost all of his films, but a lot of them can crash and burn really
it's
bad.
85% just weird shit sometimes.
Yeah.
What is the last movie he did?
Oh,
Is it
gosh.
that Passion movie or whatever?
I think it might have been Passion, yeah.
Wow.
But no, it was kind of funny because I was watching his documentary, and even he, talks about how at one point they were touring Carlito's Way. And he said, he's like, all of a sudden we were in Germany and I was watching the movie, and afterwards, I was walking, I was just like, yep, that's about as good a movie as I can ever make.
Time to throw in the towel.
Yeah,
I'll
he's
just
just
phone it in from now on.
That's the best I can do.
So what was it? What was his excuse for continuing then?
Well, I don't know. Why wouldn't you?
What's his reasoning for the Black Dahlia?
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all were excited for the idea of the
Yes,
Black Dahlia.
it looks
It's just
like it should be
amazing
good.
though that you can go from that level and that ability and like clear like picture of what you're directing in Carlito's Way, and then just trip over and like hit your head on the toilet on the way to make
all these
Black Dahlia and everything else.
You know, that happened to Doc Brown, and he made the
or
fucking
Femme
time
Fatale.
machine.
Remember Femme Fatale, another one where it was just kind of
That was the 4-star review
Incoherent.
from Roger Ebert.
yeah,
Femme Fatale. I don't think anybody
didn't
else
see it.
felt that way.
yeah. But regardless, Stephen H. Barham did Carlito's Way, and it's so funny. Like I said, I've never seen that film in the theater. In fact, I remember the year it came out. It was Christmas time, and the family, we were all like going to go see a movie. You know, the movie theater, and it was like, well, what do you want to see? I'm like, I want to see Carlito's Way. And of course, this is me when I was like, 10 or 11 years old.
Little Steve, like, Carlito's Way, Carlito's Way.
And they're like, no, we're not seeing that. It's rated R. I'm like, oh, like we're seeing something that the whole family can see. I'm like, oh, I don't want to see anything else. They're like, well, what else is there? And there's like Addams Family Values. We ended up going to see Addams Family Values.
That's a great movie.
And it was all right. As
can
a
think
kid,
of much worse.
I was angry at first, and then I went to the movie, and it was enjoyable. But here's the kicker.
First you were afraid.
I come out of the movie, and there's my dad and my godmother just sitting outside waiting for us. I'm like, where'd you guys go?
To
like,
see
we went to
Carlito's Way.
yeah. We went to see another movie. What movie? Carlito's Way. And so it wasn't until it came out on video that
dick
I
move.
actually got to
Totally is.
see it. So, like, I grabbed it when I saw it out on video, and I just remember, like, even in, like, VHS pan and scan, I'm watching this thing going, oh, my God, it's fucking amazing.
Be honest, was it the first thing you ever jerked off to?
No.
The first one was Electric Boogaloo.
So now that we're totally off topic from Francis Ford Coppola.
Not entirely. Still Stephen H.
I
Barham,
mean-
because it was his visuals that were so captivating in that movie, not just the editing or directing, or of course Pacino, but or Sean Penn for that matter, in a role that was totally transformative.
This is actually a good little side topic I wouldn't mind talking about. Maybe we could talk about it after the fact, but just to plant the seed, how much of the vision typically do you think is the directors and how much is the DPs?
I think
Is it entirely just dependent on who the director is?
entirely dependent. From what I hear, Michael Mann, like I think on The Insider, he literally like handled the camera 90% of the time, and I'm sure that in some cases
Sounds like a Soderbergh or a James Cameron.
Yeah.
Who does the same.
But I mean, I also believe that there are directors out there who are like, yeah, I hire these people because I trust them, and
Right. Probably most actors turn directors, maybe.
yeah,
I mean, I think the director is always going to be checking out their framing and their camera placement anyway. They're not going to be totally divorced from camera department and just go, well, totally out of my hands.
I mean, some people.
I don't know. I guess I have never seen that, but I'm not on sets all the time.
I'm fascinated by this movie because the fact that I've never seen it and everybody talks so highly about it. This must be our first Coppola, right?
Yes.
So I think
Is it?
I was holding out hope that the conversation would be.
And our first Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh shit!
why I oughta.
Mark, do you want to tell us what you're known for on the interwebs?
Oh, if I'm known for anything online, I made a 20-odd minute video of every time Nicolas Cage laughs in a movie.
It's kind of brilliant.
It's all in chronological order. It goes up until like 2014 or something. Some movie called Rage. And when he dies, when he stops releasing movies, I'll finish it. I'll put all the newer ones in that video and re-release it. But I have seen every Nick Cage movie up to that point. And this is one of the good ones. He's not a major part in this thing. We'll talk about him later.
Okay, but let's actually get to the movie, shall we?
Shall we?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Rusty James. Biff Wilcox looking for you, Rusty James.
I'm not hiding.
He says he's gonna kill you, Rusty James.
Man, me and you, we could have run this whole side of town if you just gave me a chance.
You know, if you're gonna lead people, you have to have somewhere to go.
I wonder why somebody hasn't taken a rifle and blown your head off. The motorcycle boy.
You always try so hard to be like your brother, Rusty James.
Hey, my brother's the coolest.
Why do you dislike me so much? I mean, I've always tried to be your friend.
You know, you might have made it a while on the motorcycle boys rep, but you ain't got your brother's brains.
Neither, contrary to popular belief, is your brother crazy.
Good frame to pause it on so we can see the computer camera operator all the way through transportation coordinator. A good
Computer
choice.
camera operator. Is that what I do now?
It's the way of the future. Show me the blueprints. Show me the blueprints.
Come on in here, Steve.
I'm here.
There is a lot to unpack in this movie.
I was about to say the same thing.
Well, you guys have seen this before, so
What's your first
why do you
impression?
seem so surprised?
It's been a while since I've seen it, and it's just like, man, it's thick with symbolism, and you can tell it's based on a novel because everything means something else.
Yeah. And they definitely kind of give you that feel with the visuals, with the time lapse and the smoke and the clouds and the mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was based on a novel.
Well, I said at the end.
But it plays a lot like a dream, you know. And there's definitely the early on I was like, man, they really are fogging up every single room and scene, and then just like it's like, oh, okay, yeah, they're definitely doing it for a
like
reason.
they're walking through downtown with like fucking smoke flares going off in the background.
Right.
I was like, yeah, Diane Lane's like not only like ditching him right now, but she's walking
running
into a fire.
That's where the helicopter is gonna land to pick her up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those strange things. Like, that was the one scene where I was like, okay, now why are we seeing like it's almost like we saw the actual canisters in the background, and they obviously had different colors or at least different tones of smoke at that point in that sequence. And so I was just like, okay. It's just like, seemed a little blatant to me, or maybe a part of this film craft that maybe we weren't necessarily supposed to see, but perhaps they couldn't help it. I don't know.
And perhaps they thought they'd get away with it because it was black and white, and your eyes wouldn't be going towards a certain color in the background. It's just going to be like covered with smoke.
Yeah, could be.
But what I'm thinking the smoke has a lot to do with the time-lapse clouds that we're seeing throughout the movie, but what does that all mean to you guys?
I took it as kind of like, to me it felt like when death was near, I felt like the clouds were very prevalent. You know, it was very, it kind of played on that whole dreamlike state I was talking about. Like, it was just like the whole movie played as like one nightmare kind of, you know. And like you said, it's extremely, it's not quite 100% avant-garde because it has there's a narrative through line for sure.
But it is definitely pretty experimental with that narrative.
Very experimental. Like, if I didn't know that this was based on a novel with a screenplay, I would say that they literally just had an outline and they went out and shot it.
I could see that.
I could see that too with the amount of dialogue that's re-recorded in post-production.
My goodness.
Like it seems like they didn't even have a microphone on these people. They just went out and shot some scenes and replaced it all later.
Yeah.
So
no Ben Burt like there to capture amazing sound.
Well, I was surprised that, like, I was looking. Did either of you see like Walter Murch's name on this movie?
I was actually looking for it to see because I was wondering. I feel like at this point he might have been too big.
Oh yeah. Didn't he come back to help out with Tetro?
Probably, but what's he doing these days? I mean,
I don't know.
I saw the editor's name. It wasn't Walter Murch.
No, but I mean, if I remember, Walter Murch actually started in sound. Were you paying attention to the sound credit on this?
No. Sound? No.
Sound.
This is definitely that dark period of Coppola that I haven't seen any of his films. You know, from, I guess, really from
like Apocalypse Now through Godfather 3.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Godfather 3. So I've seen Apocalypse Now. I've seen Godfather 2. I guess Apocalypse Now is the newest.
Anybody see Jack?
Of those.
I did
not
not
see
see
Jack. So he did do Jack, didn't he?
And The Rainmaker was also his, right?
Yeah, that was.
I didn't see either
I
of
didn't
those.
see that.
I like The Rainmaker.
Yeah?
It's a
I
legal
didn't see this.
drama.
I didn't see the other one that stars everyone in this.
Yeah,
And
The
Tom
Outsiders.
Cruise. Yeah, I didn't see.
Which is
Outsiders.
also an S.C. Hinton novel.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, from what I can gather, yeah, most of the people that I know were like, oh, I had to read The Outsiders for school. I never had to.
No,
I probably would have
never
liked
came
it,
up.
but like everyone I know loves The Outsiders that's aware of the film.
Is that another?
S.C. Hinton.
But,
and
yeah, but is it another
French
thing
Ford
like
Coppola.
about these old school gangs?
Yeah. Oh,
getting in trouble. and-
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
So
the
he's
movie
sort of
can
a
be
one-trick
boiled-
pony.
The movie can be boiled down into one sentence, really, which is just
This movie.
the whole concept of a rumblefish, and he says it. Ricky Mork says it.
Ricky Mork.
Ricky Mork. No. More like in this one. No.
Ricky Mork, yes.
Ricky Mork. I like it.
Mickey Rourke and his evil twin brother. What's he say at the end? He's just like, the rumblefish, they won't fight each other if they're
free.
free, if they're let free. So he's basically just
river.
talking about his brother, or and really himself. He just doesn't. He's not free. He's just in this prison, and.
Well, there's all kinds of things with the rumblefish. If you put a mirror up to it, they start to fight the reflection until they kill themselves.
Yeah.
And that's sort of Matt Dillon. He sees himself in Motorcycle Boy.
Right.
That's his reflection. It's what he wants to be, his reflection. So he keeps fighting. He keeps getting beat up by these people.
Well,
and he would just die if this kept going without Motorcycle Boy to rescue him every time.
Yeah. And his dad's drinking himself to death, and
Yeah.
and everybody's definitely fighting themselves.
Yeah.
You know.
And at the end, when he's about to be arrested, he looks down to see his reflection in the mirror, and he sees in color. Or the movie becomes color, just like the fish.
Yep.
And he starts punching it.
He starts punching. He's fighting his reflection. So I don't know exactly what all that literally means, but it's thought-provoking at least.
Yeah, I got the feeling of smoke and mirrors, and the idea that, with Rusty, it was the fact that he thought that he was a member of this gang, and that he was actually rather the leader of this gang, keeping the gang together while his brother, the Motorcycle Boy, was away.
Mm-hmm.
And like everyone else around him is just like,
who's this goofball?
Okay, kid. Like,
yeah,
you don't
17-year-old
understand.
kid.
Like, everything is an illusion. Like, nothing is what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all you are is this thing that doesn't exist anymore. And I guess in essence, you got the smoke and the mirrors. You got the time moving so fast. The time lapse photography. It's almost like he is not of his time. Just as Dennis Hopper, who played the father, says that Motorcycle Boy is not of his time.
Born in the wrong time.
Born in the wrong time. So it's like these guys they don't really have a home. They don't belong where they are.
I guess I tended to see the time lapse clouds and stuff, because the most obvious use of it is when Matt Dillon is talking to Nicolas Cage outside the diner.
It's such a great scene.
And the clouds are whipping by in the reflection in the window. And I'm kind of going like, this is literally their lives passing them by. They're missing out on all this time because they're caught up in these little dramas with each other. They're maybe that's too literal an interpretation, but it seemed to me like they were just wasting time. And the more they do that, the more he's going to end up like Dennis Hopper, drinking himself to death.
Is this just, I mean, this, I guess, in the 80s and like 90s, you had all these movies that basically, like, you looked back at the 50s and 60s as kind of like, you know, that was like all the remakes, or not remakes, but all the era movies were kind of from that period, like Back to the Future, you know, going back to 1955, or just any number of movies. But this feels like, you know, now that they're kind of aware of the passage of time, this movie's like kind of commenting on that. It's like you've got these characters that belong in like West Side Story, and yet they're in this weird place in presumably the 80s. I mean, it seems more like the 70s, to be honest.
I thought it was in like the 50s or 60s, but then they go to an arcade.
Yeah.
And they have like, at the
kinda
time,
like
modern arcade games.
And, you know, but they belong back in the 50s.
It's almost like it's like a fever dream swan song to the Greaser era, almost, in the sense that,
and it's shot like one.
Yeah. Precisely.
It's shot like a dream you had. You know, you think about it, you just think of fragments. You don't have, and everybody's names are weird. Like, what's the Matt Dillon character's name?
Rusty
James.
Rusty James.
Never just Rusty. It's always Rusty James.
It's true. It's like I couldn't remember the last part of it.
Rusty James and Ricky.
It's like, hey, Rusty James. I was thinking, Rusty James. Would you mind, Rusty James, giving me that Coke, Rusty James?
Yeah.
Rusty James. Like,
someone said 2 more names.
Guess that's Rusty James.
That's like his gang name, like Motorcycle Boy and Rusty James.
Yep. And then who was what was? Cage was Smoke something, like
Smokey, I think. Just Smokey.
And then I don't know about you, but I feel like Steve was an entirely wasted character.
Yeah, that's
like the character of Steve.
Who names the child Steve anyway?
Right.
I mean,
those people
some
are
stupid
worthless.
people.
But honestly, like I just feel like I got the feeling like he was supposed to be sort of like a Nick Carraway sort of character. Is that the name of the guy who follows Gatsby around?
I think so.
But yeah, hopefully, and of course, everyone who's listening right now is losing their minds. No. What do you know, you illiterate fuck? But no, honestly, and so it's like I feel like he was there to help like log everything down and like keep tabs on what was happening with Rusty James and with the group of people, and like he shows up a few times and then he's gone. Like he has no
like,
real
he's
value.
Supposed to be a voice of reason, I think, from outside this gang life.
Yeah, but
but nobody listens to him.
Yeah, and even the movie stops listening to him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden he shows up at the end. You're like, oh, look, there he is again.
He keeps saying stuff like, "Don't call it fun. It wasn't fun." And like, yeah, people just talk right over him, and then he just sort of fades away.
Talk about another character that's wasted. I wanted to know more about Chris Penn.
Yeah,
they show him in metal shop making a fucking sword.
Well, that's also part of the actual fever
like,
dream that Matt Dillon's having after being stabbed and probably having his own little fever situation.
Like he's imagining Diane laying up by the clock, spitting too fast.
Right, and so if
Another
anything, like it's
thing.
all not just a time thing, but a virility thing. Like, I mean, yeah, you've got this woman in lingerie watching you in shop class, and your buddy's got this fucking steel sword. You know, it's just like, yeah, it's just like this total masculine thing. But I wondered, like, well, it would be kind of cool to see the rest of that gang, but I guess the movie's just really not about that. In fact, that's kind of the point, I think. You know, the idea that's like, no, there is no gang. This is all pretty much in Rusty James's head.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, if you were to ask Coppola, what do you think he would say this movie is about? Is it about someone's fever dream, or is it an actual interpretation of just what's what's happened to this character's life, where it's going. Like you're saying, these people are not, they don't exist outside of.
No, I think they do
Matt
exist.
Dillon's...
They do exist.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, in that one sequence where she's in the lingerie and they're in the shop class, that all takes place when he's obviously that kind of non-linear sequence.
And then
when
wakes
he's
up.
been stabbed and he like wakes up every once in a while, and then like every other scene is him with his brother, and his brother's like, you know, why? I don't know. What? Fuck what?
If this were a modern movie, this movie would have been about his nightmares while he was dying and or dead from the stab wound.
Like Jacob's Ladder or something.
Yeah, or the what was that fucking horrible Ryan Gosling movie with Naomi Watts? Where he's he's like dies in a car accident.
I know. I can picture the poster, but I
can't
can't.
Killed Me or
Dawn?
No.
Not Dawn.
It was
It's like a one word.
Yeah, it was a one word.
Oh shoot!
It's the
Right.
tip
Anyway.
of my brain.
You know, nowadays this movie would be twisted into something like that, whereas this plays more like a Lynch film. You know, but I mean, not quite as,
but still palatable. Like you're still able to kind of figure out
this
what's
has
going
more
on.
palette, like, and like you can weave a coherent narrative story out of this.
Yeah.
But it's still just the way they shot it and everything. I mean, it's a gorgeous fucking movie.
Yeah, it is really beautifully shot. But that was your one thought with regard to the color. Why have the rumblefish in color in the first place?
I'm not totally sure. It's they do establish with like 2 lines in the middle of the movie that Motorcycle Boy is colorblind,
correct,
and mostly deaf.
Yeah.
And I wonder why he talks so quietly if he's deaf. maybe he just talks quietly as a default, so he's not shouting all the time accidentally. But he seems attracted to these. I think that he calls them Japanese fighting fish or whatever. I think they're just bettas.
They're beta fish, yeah.
Yeah.
You remember those, don't you, Chad? I had one.
You don't like the bettas?
I don't remember what happened to it, but
I can tell you what happened to it.
Oh no.
It was kind of a cruel thing to do, but honestly, it was one of those fast things that ended up being an awesome thing. Because I was moving back to the Midwest, and it was obviously something I didn't necessarily want to keep. I mean, bear in mind this was a fish that was
2 betta fish.
This was a fish that was
Is Peter gonna hunt us down?
Probably.
Oh no.
Did you put it down
Steve
the fucking trash compactor?
I would just like to comment that Steve is a guest star today.
This does not reflect the values of our program.
The values of the hell with this.
Let me just say, to make a long story short,
Too late.
It was cared for.
Okay.
So not to worry. Not to worry in the least.
My God.
By a cat.
No.
For about 10 seconds.
No. It was actually, I was outside of the apartment complex before we left, and I basically put it by the school, and someone picked it up right away.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
They probably thought, what kind of inconsiderate prick would just leave a fish out here?
Yep. 23-year-old merciless Steve Phelan, that's right.
Fish abandoner.
Fish abandoner, no.
Do you think Coppola paid for this movie with his own money?
It certainly feels like it.
I mean,
it opens with the
I just want to
logo.
hear this pitch. I mean, I guess he could have gotten distribution.
If it was based on a book, I'm sure somebody was willing to give it a shot.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
possible that
cast,
Universal only picked it up for distribution. I'm not sure who actually produced it. I think it said he produced it along with Roman and another Coppola.
Okay.
I haven't seen his last few movies. I haven't seen Twixt, or what was it? Was it called Twixt?
Twixt, yeah. That was the one with Val
hear about
Kilmer and the younger...
Elle Fanning?
Yeah, Elle Fanning. I went to the Comic-Con Hall H thing for Twixt.
There was they got Hall H?
They got Hall H, man.
Wow.
The line was not big. That's how I
you
managed
just
to get in there.
the front.
And they showed clips from the movie, and it was hilarious. Just to sidetrack a little bit about Twixt, the whole experiment he was running with Twixt, and Coppola is still an experimenter with film.
Yeah,
he does weird shit all the time.
I love him for that.
Yeah, he's not
still doing his own
He's
thing.
not just
Oh,
like making law thrillers or whatever.
I remember seeing this poster. I had no idea that this was Coppola, or that Bruce Dern and Val Kilmer, Elle Fanning, Ben Chaplin. Wow, it's quite the cast.
Well, the experiment that was happening with Twixt, he was doing like a road show with it.
Oh, okay.
And I think now it's on Netflix, but what he was doing on the road with the movie, he had, I don't know if it was an iPad or a laptop or whatever, but he could basically re-edit the movie on the fly, and the movie would stream out of his computer. He could rearrange scenes, he could put in alternate cuts of scenes based on how the audience was reacting to certain characters or whatever. So every time he showed that movie on the road, it was different.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty
That's
wild.
kind of cool.
They don't do that on Netflix. It's just one
Why
movie.
not?
I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, it's an interesting idea, but it did not do well critically or.
I mean, I guess
this was literally 6 years ago.
Yes.
I guess if you're a director that's tired of not seeing like an audience reaction, I guess that would be one way to make it more of a theatrical presentation where you're turning into a play more or less. Like
a lot of people went out to see those shows because they knew it was Francis Ford Coppola showing the movie himself off of his computer.
Had I known that, I probably would have actually sought it out, but I don't think I knew anything more than. I feel like he's probably made another film or two, like because he's made so many. He made
Distant
the one with
Vision.
Tim Roth, didn't he make one with? Tim
Yeah, that was Youth Without Youth.
Youth Without Youth, which was a strange movie.
Yeah, it's basically since 2007, Youth Without Youth, 2009, Tetro, 2011, Twixt, and then Distant Vision, which was put together as quote-unquote a movie in 2015, and then is posted as a TV movie in 2016.
Interesting.
I wonder what happened there.
The same people there. Hold on, let me see if it's the same.
So do you think that George Lucas invites Coppola over to show him all the feature films he's been directing recently, but just hasn't told anyone about?
That's possible.
I think, yeah.
Because didn't George Lucas say... I mean, I know he said for years, like, oh, I'm just going to go make my own small little movies.
You'd think
But he actually said something that recently that was more like, no, I've been making my own movies and showing my friends, and that's it. Like
he probably invites Carlito's Way guy.
Brian De Palma.
I can never remember his goddamn name.
Probably, yeah, De Palma. I'm
Coppola
sure.
And
Spielberg's not too busy. He shows up, I'm sure. And same with Scorsese. But I'm sure Scorsese's like, oh, I'm making movies over here in New York.
Maybe he invites Marshall Lucas over just for the hell of it, just to relive old times.
Get some pointers on how to re-edit his movies.
I mean, he's the grandfather of independent film, I would say. Modern independent film.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely enough, he didn't start off anything remotely close to an independent filmmaker from like the way his films played. They were very grand in scope. But the people that he worked with and the people that he inspired
stuff, right?
were...
Like, he made Dementia 13, some fucking B movie. He made a lot of those cheapo horror movies and stuff like that early in his career. So I think he must have gotten something out of that to just run and gun and make whatever he wanted to make. As long as it didn't cost too much. I mean, look at Apocalypse Now. It did end up costing a lot, but he just kind of went off into the jungle and did whatever he wanted.
Cost his sanity.
Yeah.
And his marriage, right?
No, I think they're still together, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In fact, his wife just put together, if I remember, like her first feature film at the age of like 80 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the film is.
There was another thing in this movie that I thought was interesting. Several times, Rusty James is saying, like, when I grow up, I'm gonna look and be just like Motorcycle Boy, and everybody else is going, no.
Yeah. Like,
how could you even think that?
You have no scope, like no concept of who you are, do you?
Yeah. And isn't there some implication that when Motorcycle Boy goes out to California to find their mom, who left years ago, that Motorcycle Boy looks a lot like his mom?
Yep.
And then when people are saying, no, you're not going to look like Motorcycle Boy, that's sort of saying he's going to end up more like his dad.
Yep.
And he's drinking a lot the whole time.
Right? And he's like, no, I'm not drinking a lot.
This is totally normal. So there is this, like, his fate is already sealed. Unless, like the rumblefish, he can get out of the aquarium. He goes off to California. He goes to the ocean, at least.
What I found...
But he never sees his mother.
He never sees... Well, as far as we know. But he escaped. And I think the idea is that he doesn't have to fight anybody anymore.
And the idea is that he was able to do something that his brother was not able to do, and that is change his path. They figured he wouldn't ever leave there because he's too afraid of being alone. Mm-hmm. And that's what his brother tells him to do, basically, is go be free and be alone.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why his last shot's at the ocean? Like, he's supposed to be a rumblefish?
Yeah.
He's a rumblefish who's going to go out into the ocean.
Well,
pretty much.
It means he made it to the river.
Sure.
If it's
Just
Cape
like-
Cod, he's going to jump in with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah and swim into her mermaid
Mermaid cave?
Euphemisms galore. No. But no, about that scene in the bar, what I found interesting is, he's asking, like, was mom crazy? And I think it's like for the first time he started to realize, like, he was at a table of crazy.
Yeah. His dad is off his rocker. Motorcycle boy is clearly a little bit weird.
Right. And everyone used to talk about how smart Motorcycle Boy is. And like, oh, you're never going to be like him. You're never going to be as smart as him.
And he still seems to be pretty well read. He's always reading something. And
eloquent.
Talking about the Greeks.
Intellectual. But as far as like emotional intelligence, he is not on the level.
Yeah.
Is Matt Dillon playing the same character from Beautiful Girls?
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's kind of like the same guy.
Yeah, not the same kind of guy I thought I was going to be. And it kind of blows.
Who's better, Matt Dillon or
Steve
Kevin
and I are
Dillon?
the only two people on the planet who can actually quote that movie.
Beautiful Girls?
Oh, it's
Is
so
that an Ed
good.
Burns movie?
No,
Ted
Ted
Demme.
Demme.
Oh, okay.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah. Can't believe both the Demis are gone. And on that note,
Well, good night, folks.
Any final?
what did you
it
think?
play?
Did you enjoy it?
I
Yeah, you're
enjoyed
the
it.
first
I enjoyed
timer.
it from a cinematography perspective. I didn't think the performances were anything. I didn't feel like the actors really had enough to grab onto to really make worthwhile performances. Outside of
what I will
maybe
say
Mickey
about
Rourke.
Mickey Rourke is he's effortless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely effortless.
But it's at the same time such an oddball role.
Yeah.
It's not like he's chewing the scenery at all.
No.
You're right about that.
Matt Dillon, I feel like I'm watching him like pull his way up a tree.
Yeah.
Like
He's always trying, he's sort of trying to impress
whereas Mickey
with every
Rourke is
line.
literally floating alongside the tree, like up to
Yeah.
the top.
like I was like, Matt, it doesn't have to be that hard.
Why is this so difficult?
Just let go, Matt. It's easy. All you have to do is fly.
So I mean, from a cinematography perspective and seeing him have fun make this movie, I think from that point of view, it's an enjoyable watch. I don't know that I got anything out of it, which is why I was going to ask you guys, like, what did you get out of it the first time that made you want to come back to it?
I'm gonna tell you, watching it the first time, I'm like, maybe I should see that again. Because there were certain things that I was like, I'm not sure, I don't know. And like part of the thing that also kind of got me was, is it Stuart Copeland who did the music?
From The Police.
His score was a little interesting at times.
Well,
I like
does
the
he-
That's why I asked you,
percussiveness.
like, in the middle of the movie, is this Hans Zimmer? Because it reminded me of True Romance.
Uh-huh.
And just this fucking ape shit just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
The music-
stand
I was
that
like,
soundtrack.
when a melodic line came into the actual composition, I was like, this doesn't feel at all like what I'm watching.
It didn't fit. It didn't
But it
match
mellowed
what
out.
you were
It
ever
mellowed
seeing.
out, and it got better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beginning wasn't I was like, oh.
I like the percussive stuff in the beginning.
Really?
That didn't bother me. And actually, that beginning fight I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
the fight
is
choreography, not so much, but the actual the way it was shot was, and the way it was cut was really good.
It's got this kind of manic quality to it.
Uh-huh.
There's like strobe lights, like lightning, and the train running past, and smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Wait, smoke? You saw smoke in this movie?
Yeah, amazing. Didn't Coppola do the video for Bad? Michael
No,
Jackson's
that was
Bad?
Scorsese.
Oh, that was Scorsese. Okay, I got
Yeah.
that backwards because that fight scene, I was kind of like imagining Bad playing behind it.
Now that's something I want to see.
These two gangs, like there's the greasers and these other like pill heads wearing suit and tie, having a fucking knife fight by the train station. It was just, I don't know, that first shot where it's like tracking with the one gang walking in, and then it pushes in on the guy who's like wired out of his mind. That's a great shot. That's the best shot of the movie.
Where did this take place?
I don't know.
I have no idea. No clue whatsoever.
It's like Levittown or something. Somewhere that just
Like
kind of like
Detroit.
fell apart.
City of Industry.
Yeah.
But no, the other. Tom Waits. How about Tom Waits though? Like
I feel like
could've
we just saw him last week in last week's movie,
was
and he
in
played the devil.
Imaginarium of
I
Dr.
s-
Parnassus.
Oh, it's been a while since I've seen that.
He plays
I
Mr.
only saw
Nick.
that once. But of
He
course,
was
I
kinda-
remember him in Terry Gilliam's Fisher King as the war vet in
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Union Station.
I always think of him as
Grand Central
Renfield in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Ah,
Remember him as Renfield?
yep.
That's a great role for him.
Which I still need to see.
But no, just I could watch him all friggin' day. He's just so interesting and captivating.
And he's just like in the background mumbling to himself, really.
Talking about time passing
They
again.
didn't have a
guess-
script
yeah.
for him. They're like, you know what? We'll figure it out in ADR. So just say, mumble, make your lips move, and we'll try to match it later.
And so they come up with all this weird stuff.
Yeah,
But
we'll get
yeah,
the bad lip reading guys to come in and ADR your scenes.
He does have like a little mini speech. Like one day you wake up and you go, "Oh, I only have 35 summers left." How about that?
Now think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
about,
parting
like-
any parting thoughts?
Well, I'm still on the characters because one of the other things that I love is the fact that Nick Cage is like the most level-headed I've ever seen him in any movie.
Yeah, he's the guy who's always saying like, you don't have to fight everybody.
Yeah.
Like we're just gonna be there to watch. We're not gonna fight too.
Yeah, like
We don't want to have a gang
Yo,
rumble.
dog, I'm the actual leader here.
Yeah.
You can pretend to be your leader.
you'll be just second lieutenant if there was a gang, and there's not. So don't flatter yourself.
And then he became Castor Troy from Face Off.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
He got his own gang.
So good.
I guess going back to the question of what I get out of the movie, I guess I keep going back. This is my third time because there's more to see. Like there's more to unravel. There's more layers to the movie.
You didn't like Mulholland Drive though, did you?
I loved it.
No.
Yeah. So what? Okay. What about this makes you want to unravel this, but not
At
want to
least
unravel
this has
Mulholland Drive?
At least this has a narrative drive to it. Mulholland Drive feels a little random to me.
Kidding, Drive is in the title.
I know. What a fool I am.
I
could
disagree because I feel like they kind of play in the same sense of this is certainly more. The dialogue is more less ambiguous than Mulholland Drive is. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
Character play is, but I feel like there's still the through line in both of them. I feel like
You
it's
can-
almost clearer in Mulholland Drive than it is this one.
Oh wow!
Well,
I don't know
then
if I feel that.
I
way.
guess you're wrong.
Oh god.
I've only watched Mulholland Drive the one time, and I just didn't feel like I needed to go through that again.
Yeah, let's go outside. Let's go fight.
Not.
I do.
didn't say I want to fight, man.
I do go back
Go out and talk.
every couple of years. I'll watch the dumpster guy scene in Mulholland Drive. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course you do. That is one of the scariest fucking things I've ever seen.
It really is.
Oh,
It's-
every
it's like
time
when-
I know it's coming, but
It's one of the cheapest scares.
it just steps out from behind the thing, and,
And
I'm
you're
like,
just
"Ah!"
Yep.
Well, if you want to force me to watch Mulholland Drive for this podcast one day, I would do it.
I will do it.
Fine.
Okay.
We'll do it.
Well,
Let's do it. We'll try and figure it out. I got nothing else on this particular piece of art.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
think
I would
I've
see
said-
it again just because of the eye candy, and I feel like the actual.
and you ain't talking about Diane Lane.
Heyo.
If I was gonna shoot a black and white film, I'd come back and study this.
Absolutely, it's so stunning.
And it's a really good like restoration or whatever from Criterion.
Yeah.
Everything looks super sharp.
Great. Yeah.
And I mean,
it is a 4K TV. I mean, I don't know.
It's not a 4K Blu-ray though.
I know, but maybe there's some
No.
upresing.
Garbage in,
somewhere.
garbage out.
I mean,
you can't upres.
It
better.
still looks better.
you can't upres.
Then your stupid
you can
sharp
scale
TV.
it a bit.
You can scale it, but it's not going to add resolution.
That's true.
It's not going
It's
to add
still-
detail.
Very
I
true.
I find the Blu-rays play on this a little bit sharper than, say, your sharp TV.
Well, yeah,
And I'm
because
not talking about
that TV
the actual
costs
quality.
a whopping $200. It's not the best
the
monitor.
one you bought back then, or we must be talking about a different one.
The
I'm
one-
talking about
the
the
one
one
in
in
my-
your living room. Is
In the living room, yeah, that one costs more.
Yeah.
But that was an older TV, regardless.
Whatever.
Neither TV I have is the greatest.
Anyway, all right, get out of my house.
All right, bye.
Bye.